Very informative as well. Matt Brewer of the Stephen Kelly Law Office. It's District 186 Takeover Day on AM Springfield, and Superintendent Jennifer Gill. We have some Butler Elementary folks in the house today.
We do. We have Principal Sarah Beveridge, and we have longtime teacher and District 186 supporter Dave Curry here in the house to talk about Butler's centennial. Butler has a rich history in our community. We're giving Butler a much-needed addition as well to give them the space that they need. So I'm going to turn the mic over to them to talk about the history of Butler a little bit and the activities that are going to go on with the centennial.
Oh, awesome. Yes, we're going to be celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. Butler, the building, was built in 1921. So 2021, 2022 is the big centennial celebration. We're going to top it off with an event on May 21st from 9 a.m. to 12. We'll have, of course, coffee and pastries because it'll be breakfast. But we'll have school tours, memorabilia, student projects. We'll have a William Bill Butler reenactor, which is former music teacher at Butler, Mr. V. He's coming back to do that. And our time capsule that they put in the building in 1921, we're going to be opening that. So that'll be quite exciting.
I love those.
Yes. And then that night, we're also having a trivia night with the Butler PTO at the State House Inn. And doors open at 6:30. You can get a table of 10 for $150. And I hear there's a rumor that there's a Butler history category, which I wrote.
Which you wrote. Yeah, I see you've got even a little book in front of you, the history of Butler, and tell us a little bit about Bill Butler. I don't know much about his history.
It's interesting because I was speaking with our secretary, Miss Kim. Shout out to Miss Kim. Probably about, I'll say about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we said to each other, who is Butler School named after? And at that time, I said, I know he was a friend of Lincoln. That's all I knew at the time. So, as we approached the 100th anniversary, I started to look into it a little bit. And then before we knew it, boom, the pandemic hit. Well, I had a lot of extra time like everyone else on my hands when it came to being at home. So I just started researching through Lincoln Library and going through old newspaper archives. So I really pieced a lot of the things that we kind of knew together. And so pretty much to give you a quick version of Butler's history, Butler started out as the Lawrence Portables, which is, a mobile unit. They called them portables. That was on the southwest corner of South Grand and West Grand, which is MacArthur now. And that was put there in 1914. Well, in 1915, the land that Butler is on was purchased by the board, but they didn't have voter approval to build anything on it. So the board just moved that portable from South Grand down onto that land in 1916, and it was still called the Lawrence Portable, or they just called it the Portable. In 1918 is when the change to Butler came. William J. Butler, who was Bill Butler's grandson, approached the board. I want to change the name of Lawrence Portables to Butler School in the name of my grandfather, William Bill Butler. And they said, well, hold on, wait a second. We're not just going to do it just like that. You get your patrons, get your parents to vote to see what they want to do. So they had a vote, and that's how the name was changed to Butler in 1918. So from there to 1921, they put a lot of portables on that land. And I saw one account where there was about 7 or 8 on the land. And finally, with the overcrowding, and they kind of guilted the voters. There's a political ad that was put in there that shows the shabby portables and saying, parents, are you proud of this? And that kind of thing. And boom, it passed. And they, got the funds and so forth to start building Butler School. So that was in 1921. They finished in August of 22 and started using it in the school year 1922, 1923.
Yeah. I know we still have a lot of portable mobile units in the district, and that's what our facilities project is really all about. Mrs. Beveridge, I know that you are not a new Butler Bobcat, but you've been there a few years, but this is your first year as principal. So what we did was we put a huge construction project on our shoulders and the 100-year anniversary. So you know how that is when you're a first-year principal. But tell us a little bit about what's going on with the construction and the spaces that will be in that new. I know when people drive by, they see it and they wonder, well, what's that going to be?
Sure. So we're super excited about our construction project that is going on. And with that, it will be a new safe and secure entrance. So the entrance to Butler right now is a historic entrance on the MacArthur Street side, and that will remain and be preserved. But the new entrance will be on Laurel Street. So the main entrance will be there, and that will allow for office space for the nurse and social worker and our FACE liaison. Also in that new addition will be classroom spaces. So it will eliminate the 3 mobiles. So art and music and a new library space will be in there, along with additional small classroom spaces for reading intervention and other interventionist classrooms in there.
Yeah. You brought up 3 key points. One, making sure that we're considering the historic nature of our schools and making sure that we preserve that and make sure that that is such an important part of the Springfield community as a Springfield history. So we didn't want to take that away. But we also want to have a welcoming but safe and secure entrance. So double door, buzz-in entries, obviously cameras so that people inside can see who is trying to access the building, making sure that people have to come into the office space to check in with any visitor or family that may be coming into the school, and making sure that we have spaces for all of our educators so that they don't have to teach in the mobiles is a big goal of our schools, our future facilities project. So Butler is coming along. It had a lot of things that we had to do to get the land ready to build there, but we are going to see some great gains between now and the end of the summer. Yeah.
I remember when the ground was broken. It was one of your first ones, if I'm not mistaken, that you broke ground for.
It is, yes.
And I drove by it just the other day on MacArthur. I can't believe how big. I mean, it's obviously necessary, but there's a lot. That's a big project.
It is, and it, making sure that it looks like the rest of the building in design was a big important part. Making sure that we are also having the students still have a welcoming environment while they're there this school year. Huge challenge, and Principal Beveridge, you've done a great job. So thank you for everything that you're doing to make that smooth. Mr. Curry, you've had a long history of teaching in District 186. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your career?
Well, I came to 186 in December of 1987, started at Washington Middle School. Go Warriors, shout out for you. I was there for 8 years, and then I transferred to Butler in 1995, which incidentally was the 75th anniversary of the school. And you know what? It's very hazy. I remember very little of that because it was my first year back in elementary. I was struggling to get restroom breaks in for kids after 8 years in middle school. But I've been there since 1995 and worked with many awesome teachers and administrators through that time and seen changes. And I've said before that this is my last year before I retire, and to have it coincide with the 100th anniversary, it's like that's the best I could hope for. It's kind of a big retirement party for me all year.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to the 100-year celebration in the centennial, but not your retirement, because you're going to be sorely missed in District 186 and specifically at Butler. So we wish you the very best, but we want to thank you for all of the hard work that you've put into this. I bet you want to give a shout out for alumni who might want to participate in these things on May 21st.
Yes. One of the things that we are doing that's going to be happening after our addition is we've had it set up to make an outdoor classroom space. And that's going to kind of coincide with our garden club ladies. Shout out for the garden club. And it's going to be a walkway that goes from the south end of the building to this round classroom space, kind of like if you've been to Lincoln Memorial Gardens. They have that big round area where it's going to be something like that. But we're putting walkway bricks that people can personalize in there.
Okay.
And if people are interested in that, there's 2 sizes of bricks. You got your basic small bricks, you got your big square bricks. But if you go to tinyurl.com/ButlerBricks, okay, tinyurl.com/ButlerBricks, then you would be able to order a brick that will be put in that walkway or actually into the classroom, outdoor classroom space itself. I know I have mine already ordered. So, but a lot of people can do that. People can also, donate through that website too. But we've had a couple of great alumni that have come through for us. Mr. Stephen Patton, he has donated money towards this outdoor classroom space. And the Butler class of 1977, I hope I have that right, they've with Cliff Hathaway.
Yes.
They're a big fan of Cliff, and he is that class was special to him, and they've come through and donated a lot of money towards that outdoor classroom space.
We have about 3 minutes left. Just a
right.
3-minute warning.
I absolutely love that idea. I think it's great. And anybody who is a Butler Bobcat alumni that would like to give can go to that website.
Yeah.
Is that also located on your district website to a link to get to the tiny URL?
I don't know, but it will be now.
It might be the easiest way to get them to the link that you want them to go to, but I couldn't be more proud of the work that you've done, not only for this event, but for District 186 over the years. So I know that I speak for all of the administrators before Principal Beveridge, but is there anything else you want to give a shout out about Butler Elementary in our last few minutes here?
I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Curry and our 100th year committee for the time that they have put into this and just the enthusiasm they're building with our alumni, with our students, with our staff, and with our families. And the activities that are planned and engaging them in the learning. As I walk throughout the building, the students will stop and tell me, "Hey, Mrs. Beveridge, did you know this?" And it's a fact about the history. So they're excited and learning about the history of our school, and that's thanks to Mr. Curry.
And in turn, that's a history about the timeline of Springfield, which we know history is one of our backbones here in the capital city. So thank you so much for being on. I know I got you out into the real world here on time today. So have a great day.
All right,
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Thanks very much. The Butler Bobcats are in the building. And let's tease a little bit while we still have another.
I want to say this. I know back then when Butler was built, that was probably the west end of Springfield. I mean, Springfield probably stopped right there.
I think so. I know that my mom always tells the story when she moved here in 1969 that Chatham Road was a 2-lane dirt road, and that was when they built Grant Middle School in 1968-69. That was the end of the Springfield boundaries. So yes, I mean Butler was probably right there when it was built in the early 1900s.
I saw pictures when they were building Blessed Sacrament Church during the Depression, and there were no houses around. I mean, that was pretty much the end of the west side of Springfield. That's where the city pretty much stopped. And
pretty amazing.
Even when I graduated from high school in 74, and Chatham Road was the west end of Springfield, and it was a 2-lane road, just a tar and chip road at that time.
Cool.
Yeah.